What? Are you serious? Did I do something, or am I doing something wrong here? No, I'm not. Do you guys see that? That's 220 microseconds. Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back. So today we have the Foxeer Predator V3, and today we're going to be taking a look at its OSD menu and as well as its latency testing with and without wide dynamic range, if we're able to enable and disable that, and the difference between PAL and NTSC latency, since this is switchable here. Now let's take a look at some of the things it comes with before jumping into the testing. And again, there will not be any video footage, so if you're here looking for video footage, this is not the video. We're just going to get into kind of more depth and technical video than the actual video footage. So if you wanted that, you're gonna have to wait for that, or you can just go ahead and click away. So that being said, let's carry on. So obviously we get the camera here. It's using a pretty massive lens, and this is the mini size. However, if you had an HS1177 frame that would take that type of camera, then they do provide you with the adapter here. And they also just give you, one of those brackets here. So this is a mini, not the micro, not the HS1177 type cameras. It's in the middle, it's the mini. So this is a mini sized camera here, take that into consideration. They also provide us with the OSD remote and a couple, gaskets and screws here. And they also provide us with two cables, which one of them actually goes into the VTX, or the new standard for VTX type connectors. And they have a couple things broken out for the VSense. Now VSense is basically it acts like a multimeter, so it can actually read your battery's voltage if you give it to that pin right there. As you can tell, it's still the same old standard connector, same old standard layout, which is really nice. So you can easily swap it out with any other camera you have on board. We have VCC ground video. This thing takes up to 40 volts, from 5 volts to 40 volts. That's pretty good. It's really nice to have that nowadays. We also get the VSense. This is where you would connect your battery's voltage. You would give this to the positive of your battery, basically, and it'll start measuring how much voltage you have left. If you don't have an OSD on your RC airplane or on your quadcopter, you can use this. I don't know how accurate it is, but we'll possibly test it in the future. And we also have a separate port here for the OSD controls. I really like separate ports instead of having them all be in one connector. So we have that as a separate port. But as you can tell, the alignment isn't really nice for some reason. Why is that, Foxeer? Very curious to know. So let's go ahead and connect this. We're going to go over the OSD menu really quick, and then we're going to jump into the latency testing and seeing if switching between PAL and NTSC makes a difference. Theoretically, it should make slight difference. NTSC is faster. However, PAL has better quality, just because they cramped in a couple more lines of resolution, thus giving you better resolution, but a dropped frame rate here. So they're also stating that this thing can run 4 millisecond latency. That's minimum, keyword minimum. So we can expect to see 4 millisecond latency, and we don't know how much it's going to fluctuate. So this is going to be pretty interesting, and hopefully we can turn on and off the wide dynamic range in order to see if that'll actually affect the latency somewhat. And yeah, let me prepare everything, and let's take a look at the OSD before jumping into the latency. Alright, so everything is connected here, and let's go ahead and go over the menu. We have two menus basically. We have the camera ID menu, and if we click on it, we can go ahead and change. As you can tell, we could change the name on the bottom here to say your aircraft's name or your call sign or whatever you want to set up. And there's obviously the voltage and the current runtime, or that it's been on for. So right now I'm just editing it, so I'm just going to go to return here. Picture adjustment is very basic, just the brightness, contrast, sharpness, hue, and the color grain. Also, you can flip it. Let's see what kind of flips we can actually create on this. So we can flip, yeah, we can do all V flip, H flip, HV flip. That's really nice. So you can do that if you accidentally set it up backwards in your airplane or RC quadcopter. And here we have day and night. We can switch over language, camera reset, and then exit. Now, if you wanted to access the other menu, now I really thought that we were going to be able to turn on and off the wide dynamic range, but in this case, obviously, we're not going to be able to do that. So in order to access this menu here, you have to hold the up button for 3 seconds and then let go, then you get this menu. So here we can see we can turn off the OSD, such as we can turn off single things from the OSD, which is the time, power, which is the voltage alarm. I guess it'll start possibly just blinking that, okay, your voltage is way too low. VCal is the voltage calibration. LED, now this is a pretty crazy feature. I don't think I'll be able to test this one, I guess it will do something to the LED gates. So if you're racing, this might help. You have mid, dark, or I don't know if it actually lowers the intensity of the LED in order for you to see better or the way that you might like it. And like I said, we're not going to be able to turn on and off the wide dynamic range. So all we can do is switch between 16:9 PAL and NTSC here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with PAL. Let's go ahead and start with PAL. And then we're going to test the NTSC right after. So I'm going to leave it at PAL right now. And I'm going to go ahead and connect everything up. All right, guys. So we're about to take our first test right now. Now, and again, we're running in PAL currently. And 4x3 and 16:9 are both exactly the same. I checked that before continuing on. So the top here, what are we looking at first? First, we're looking at the video feed is up top here. And on the bottom is when the LED turns on. As you can tell, when that line goes up, that means the LED turned on. When it goes down, that means the LED turned off. And we can watch the video feed. Everything is off here. Boom, the LED went on, as you can tell. So let's go ahead and take our first sample and measure the difference here. Now, again, they're stating 4 milliseconds, so I don't know what is 4 milliseconds. So we're just going to zoom in here, and we're going to take a closer look. Now, as you can tell, this is where the LED turned on, and this is where the camera actually registered that the LED turned on. So what we can do is measure from this point to this point, and we can see that our latency was 1.78 milliseconds, which is really incredible, actually. And again, this is on PAL. Maybe NTSC is going to be faster. Now, what you always want to see anything below 20 milliseconds of latency, or even 15 milliseconds of latency. Under 5 milliseconds is just absolutely golden here. So this is actually quite remarkable. This is the fastest Foxeer I've tested so far. And it could be on its way to one of the fastest, I think, camera. We'll see that in a bit. Let's go ahead and take some more tests. All right. So I'm just going to disable roll mode, so we can get a quicker zoomed in test here. There we go. All right, what are we getting? We are getting around 1.74 milliseconds, which is still pretty good. It's actually really good. I don't know anything better really. And again, we're getting 1.74 milliseconds. Let's actually even go a little bit closer if we want to dial this in just perfect. 1.74 milliseconds. And they were even stating 4 milliseconds. Maybe it's actually slower on NTSC for some reason. These are all identical. It's just almost perfect every single time here. Oh, there we go. We got one. Just a tiny bit faster. 1.66 milliseconds. So they're supposed to say on the posting a max of 4 milliseconds, not a min of 4 milliseconds. I don't know where they're getting this, but maybe once the LED turns off, we can see that latency, what they're talking about. So we're getting roughly 1.6 to 1.8 milliseconds of latency. We can easily say that LED turning on latency is 1.7 milliseconds. Now let's go ahead and set this up where the LED is turning off. We're going to take our first sample here. Okay, so now we can see a little bit better. So as you can tell, I think the latency did increase somewhat. So we can see that right here. So forget this line. This is actually the OSD information. If I were to go in and turn this off, so if we actually zoom out a little bit, and I'm just going to capture just another one to give you a better idea. You see those dot, the thing that's lifting up here? This is actually the OSD information. And if we even go in a little bit closer, we can see this in detail. So here we have this frame here, and here's what they call the color bursts. And I can go into detail in this. It's actually really interesting and really fun. But let's go ahead and just get our measurements, because that's what this video is about here. So, wow. 1.3 milliseconds. That is crazy. Again, let's see. So this is really good, because usually cameras get more latency. What? No. What? Are you serious? Did I do something, or am I doing something wrong here? No, I'm not. Do you guys see that? That's 220 microseconds. That's insane. It can't be right, can it? Well, let's actually zoom out. Let's take a bigger sample here. Okay, I think, yeah, that was just wrong. It's just, so good thing we actually zoomed out here, because that was pretty crazy. Okay, so as we can tell, we can see this is where the LED turned off down here. And we can actually zoom in a little bit more. Right about here. Yeah, it's around 4 milliseconds. So the maximum latency of this camera is currently 4 milliseconds. That's what they were going by. They were going by the maximum, and it's not minimum. It should be maximum in the posting. Yeah, it's 4 milliseconds. So LED turning on, is, we can say 1.7 milliseconds, like almost perfect, and then turning off around 4 milliseconds. This is a really fast camera, actually. I don't know how the quality is on this just yet, but we'll see that in a later video. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to NTSC, because currently we're testing PAL. So give me a moment, I'll be back, and then we'll check that over. Alright guys, so now we are in NTSC mode. First we were testing PAL. So let's go ahead and take our first sample here. I'm just going to zoom in, turn off roll mode, and then we're going to take our first sample here. Alright, so this one is pretty clear. We can see that the latency, this is where the LED turned on, this is where it actually registered, which is 1.93 milliseconds. So for some reason, PAL is faster than NTSC on this camera. I don't know why, but it actually is, I think, faster, but it's still too early to say anything. Now, you see this info here? Now, we might think, oh yeah, it went right here, but this is actually, I think, this is the OSD information right there. That's on the bottom, because this is where it actually registers. So you can still see the OSD information still in there, those two right here. And the way you know where the LED turned on is where we got most of the red voltage up there. That's where the voltage is at most of the time. So you can tell this red line down here, it was very thick. That was the LED off, and when it actually registered, it registered right there. So that's 1.95 milliseconds. Yeah, 1.950 milliseconds. So we could say 2 milliseconds basically. Take another sample here before jumping on to something else, which would be the LED turning off, 1.93 milliseconds. So about, I would say the PAL on this is faster by 0.2 milliseconds, 0.1 milliseconds. I mean, it's not really much, it's nothing basically, absolutely nothing. This is really great results here. So cameras are getting really damn good and pretty expensive as well also. 1.93 milliseconds is pretty consistent. So now let's go ahead and go check the LED turning off, because that's where we get the most latency at here. So let's go ahead and do this. Alright, so what did we get here? We have to actually zoom out and take another sample because it got out of the frame here. So I think it's going to be around 4 milliseconds again, as you can tell. Right about here, 4.3 milliseconds. It is somewhat increasing on NTSC, which theoretically it should be the opposite, but that's pretty strange here. 4.28 milliseconds. Let's see. Here we're taking another sample. Alright, this one's kind of weird. So this is the OSD information. We want to ignore that. We want to watch the line just dip down right there. So I would say roughly... Actually, I'm going to step this back a little like this. And we're going to take a zoomed sample. Just like that. There we go. So now the LED will be right here. This is where the LED turned off. And we can actually watch this line degrade down. Let's actually improve the resolution just a little bit more here, so we kind of get an idea of what's really going on. So this one, is that possible? 1 millisecond? I'm gonna take another sample zoomed out. Oh no, it's not 1 millisecond because I did not modify my cursors. So yeah, that's correct. So we have to go to here right when the LED turned off, and then we take this one there. Sorry about that, noob mistake. 4.28 milliseconds still, as you can tell, because the LED turned off right at this edge now, so we can put more information here in front of us so we can see what's really going on. So yeah, I mean, I can do this all day. It's very consistent. 4 milliseconds is the latency LED turning off. That's the maximum latency of like 4.3 milliseconds, which is not even noticeable. Anything below 5 or 10 milliseconds is just the absolute golden zone, and we're totally in that, and there's no fluctuations. And what we found out is PAL is just slightly faster, and with PAL you get a little bit better resolution than NTSC. So, but in NTSC you get a little bit more frame rate. So that's up to you, and they're both basically exactly the same. You choose what you like here. So overall, it's a really good camera. It's a really fast camera. In terms of, you know, latency, it's a good camera. It's one of the top 10, so that's a huge plus. Now in terms of quality, I have no idea. I haven't even used this outside, so that'll be up for another day once the weather clears up for me. And well, that's it guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you found this very useful or help you avoid or purchase a product, please consider using the links down below. You don't even have to purchase the same thing, and or join me on Patreon. That would be super awesome. Any support goes an absolute long way. And well, that's it guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.